Okay, so we're back in After Effects. If you downloaded the project file that I provided in the video description, then you will have 6 different elements. A background, a crack, well, it's basically the same background, just with a crack in the middle. And then you have 4 different video files. Let's start with the main one, which is the subject, and I'm gonna drag it to create a new comp. Okay, so the subject has been keyed out. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I had applied a few different effects, such as curves and hue and saturation, just to shorten this up. Okay, so now I have to find the spot for where I want my effect to kick in. So I think this would be a good spot. I'm going to hold down Shift just to position it properly. And let's go there. This is basically when the effect kicks in. This is my timing. Right? I'm just gonna set up a new marker here, and then we're gonna have the end. I'm gonna put another marker here just for safety purposes, if you want to call it that. Okay, so we have our subject. Now I want to bring in my background. We're gonna start from the back. We're gonna make our way to the front. Okay, so now that I have my background, what goes on top of this would be the crack. Okay, but I don't want the crack to be present at all times. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply grab an ellipse tool like such, and then I'm just gonna position it around the center or so. Okay, so I'm gonna come to this marker, my second marker, which is where my effect kicks in, and I'm gonna create a keyframe for the mask expansion. And on this frame, which is why we're gonna work with these markers a lot. That's why basically mark them, and that way we can access these keyframes. Just holding Shift and dragging, we can get there easily. All right, so let's bring our mask opacity down, say about right there. So now we have that. So once I have that done, I'm gonna go ahead and start by creating a new solid. Let's make it black, and I'm gonna call this MIR. Okay, and then I'm gonna go look for Trapcode MIR. Okay, so with that layer selected, I'm just gonna apply Trapcode MIR. I'm gonna come to the geometry, and I'm gonna start making a few adjustments here. So in the position, that's fine. The X and Y position on Z, that's fine. Let's just change the vertices on X to, let's say, about 260, and vertices on Y could probably go for like 280 maybe. Size on Y, just for the purpose of this tutorial, let's make it 1920 by 1080, the same size as our comp, and then we'll take it from here, and I will show you why. Okay, let's go to Fractal. Our amplitude, put it at 7. And our frequency at 1800, like so. The evolution, just add an expression to our evolution. We're gonna put time times 100. Is it too fast? Yeah, it's a bit too fast. Let's bump it to like 20. Okay, 20 is fine. Okay, so the complexity, we do want to bring it down to 3. And the octave scale, we probably want to put that, let's say about 1. And the octave multiplier, let's see, 1.3, I believe, or so. Okay, so we're starting to get like this water reflectance look. Okay, so now that our fractal's done, our shader, blending mode, let's change it to normal. So that way we start getting rid of a little bit of that nasty white that we see. Could probably change our normals to like 90. Even bring down that white a little bit more. Here's the material color. Here you can definitely change the color to whatever you guys want. I'm gonna go for like a slightly blue, like that. A light blue, not slightly blue, a light blue. Okay, so what I want to do is Control-Shift-C to pre-compose it. And I want to move all attributes, meaning that Trapcode MIR is going to go inside of the pre-comp. And now I can simply click G on my keyboard with that pre-comp selected. I am going to draw a quick mask like so. It doesn't, for the purpose of this tutorial, I won't go very in detail to try to make this look perfect. I'm going to feather it out about 50 pixels. Okay, now I'm going to go inside Trapcode MIR again. And I want to adjust the offset Y. Okay, we're going to start from here. Offset Y, it's at 0. I'm going to come to my first frame. And let's do -100. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's fine. Here, we are going to do -500. -700. So we created these keyframes. So now what it's going to do, you know what, I'm going to delete this keyframe and I'm going to only work with 3 keyframes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those keyframes, press F9, go to my curve editor, and in this curve editor, I'm going to select this curve. No, I'm sorry, this curve. And I want to drag it as much as I can. Like so. Okay, so that way it's going to start slowly going up and then it jumps up. So these curves matter a lot. For animators, curves are the best thing. Just makes everything look better when you're animating. Just eases in. No, out of Bezier. Let's see how that looks. So it starts slow, it kicks off, and it goes slow again. All right, that's fine. You can adjust these settings however you like once you start playing with this. Okay. Now I'm gonna go to the opacity. And in this first marker, I'm gonna set the opacity at 0, create a keyframe, bump it up to 100. And in the end, just gonna go to the, okay, opacity at 100, and I'm gonna go to my last frame and bring it down to 50. Okay, so now we see slowly, and again, I'm also going to ease in these keyframes, and again, I will try to drag this out. That way we have, I don't need, okay. All right, that curves looks a lot better now. Just needed a little adjusting there. Okay, so now that we have this, we have Trapcode MIR is done. Now let's create a new solid. And I'm gonna call this one electricity. Okay, actually this one's gonna go on top. And I'm gonna look for advanced lightning. Apply advanced lightning. I'm gonna position my origin and direction and change it to strike. Here we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the beginning of my comp, set keyframes for both of these, and then just gonna move them up like so. Just want to move them around. And then here, same thing, like so. Okay, so we have something that looks like that. All right, so now what do I want to do? I want to write down an expression again. So I'm going to write down loop out So once I have that expression written, I'm going to copy it and paste it on this. I'm just going to copy it and paste it on the direction. So now it's just going to loop out forever. Okay. But I don't want that. I'm going to bring down the opacity to 0. And I'm going to write down another expression. And I'm going to write down wiggle. What's the wiggle? Now let's do 10, comma, 100. Close it. Let's see how that looks. All right. That looks a bit better. It might be too fast. Let's bring that to 5. Let's see how 5 looks. I actually like something in between. Let's go 7.5. One's a bit too slow. The other one was a bit too fast. Yeah, this one looks okay. All right. Control Y to create a new layer. I'm going to call this one Fractal. Okay. I'm going to come into my effects and presets, and I'm going to look for Fractal Noise. Okay. So let's start making a few changes here. So we're going to go for dynamic twist, spline. The contrast, we're going to put it at 145. Brightness at 35. Okay. Bring it down to 25. Okay, that looks a bit better. My brightness, I'm going to change it to negative 35. And now I have this. So now I'm going to play with the offset. I'm going to set up a keyframe here. Another keyframe here. Let's go to negative 2000. And let's go to the last keyframe. Negative 3000. Okay. Press U on my keyboard to look for my keyframes. Ease them in. Again, go to my graph editor. Well, this one's going to be a little bit more complicated, so let's leave this one as it is. All right, so now the opacity. Just going to copy the, let's go to 0, keyframe. Go to 50 here. And 25. Okay. F9. Select the opacity. Go to the curve editor. And let's expand these. Like so. Okay. Again, Shift Control C to pre-compose it. G on my keyboard, and I'm also gonna make another shape. The shape, let's just make a quick shape like that. This shape sucks, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just gonna keep it like that. It's feathered 50 pixels as well. All right, now I'm gonna go to my effects and presets, and I'm gonna look for Turbulent Displacement. And the size, I wanna go to 50. Amount 50, and size, let's go to 30. All right, and then we're just gonna put the evolution. Let's go time that. Okay, so what the turbulent displacement is doing is on top of, we don't want to see just the fractal, we want to see it move beyond the evolution that it already has. So that's what that turbulent displacement is doing. Now I'm going to apply hue and saturation to the fractal, colorize it, colorize saturation, and let's start changing it. I want to make it like not so blue. Like that's fine. That's still pretty blue. Okay. 75%. I still brought the opacity down on this a little bit more. And if I change my blending mode from normal, I like screen, so we're gonna keep it at screen. And I'm gonna search for particular, apply particular. Particular does have a lot of settings, so let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so the emitter continuous. Emitter type, let's go change it to a sphere. Position, we're gonna put it right there. That's where we want them to emit. So size in X, 400. Size in Z, 400. Size in Y, 0. Zero velocity for motion. Zero velocity distribution. The velocity can be adjusted, but we'll adjust that in a bit. Let's go to the particle. Particle, 1 second per life. Life random, 100%. Particle type sphere. The size is going to be at 1. The size random, 100% as well. Size over life. Let's go ahead and choose this preset. And we're going to apply that also on the opacity over life. Like that. Okay, so the color, I want to make this one like a yellowish color. So now that I have that done, I want to go to my physics. Gravity minus 10. We just want these to start floating up by themselves. Okay. The air, wind in Z, we're gonna come to this marker, put it at 0, negative 10. Now let's put negative 100. It's fine. And here, negative 500 probably. Okay. All right, so now let's go to the emitter. 0, keyframe, second marker, 100, keyframe, last marker. Let's leave it at 500 for now, and if we have to change it, then we'll change it futurely. And then, well, we're gonna bring it down to 100 again. Okay, so the emitter and the physics basically done. I want to apply visualize fields, spherical field, strength. Let's go to 100. Let's position it here. I'm going to see my subject. Where is it? Where is it? Here, yeah. Okay, so I want to see my subject, and actually I want to put the sphere right in the center of the body. Okay, the radius, Z, no. That radius seems to be about right. Okay, now I'm going to go to my aux system, and I'm going to turn on continuously. Emit probability 100 particles per second. Let's take that to 100. Size 1. Opacity. Leave it at 50. Now the color from the main 100 also. Opacity over life. Let's also change that preset. Size, opacity, gravity. Put negative 100 just so they can start moving. Blend mode. Okay, so the randomness, we are going to put random life 100%. Random opacity 100%. Physics air mode. Wind effect, I want to change that to 50. Okay, if we don't adjust this, the wind that we originally applied to our physics is not going to affect it. Now I don't want it affected 100%, I just wanted it 50%. And I feel that my wind might be a little bit too fast here. Yeah. 1000. Let's see, U. we are actually at negative 100. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the emitter one more time. Velocity, let's put it at 0. Velocity random 0. Keyframe velocity. Go to this third marker. Let's put our velocity at 100. And let's keep our velocity down at that speed. Press U on my keyboard again, and I want to find these two keyframes. F9 to ease them. Go to my graphic, curves view, and just want to change the particles in the end to 10 and to the particles on my third marker at 1000. So I wanted to do this. All right, now I'm gonna go again to my physics. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my spin amplitude. Now here I want to put 500. I want to change it to 200. All right, that's fine. Keyframe it. Go to my first frame. 0. Last frame. Let's bring that to 50. Okay, let's see how that looks. Right. Let me remove that visualize spherical field. And I do want to feather it out more, actually. Spherical field, let's feather at 50. I think that's fine. So basically what we're doing is we're just playing with these markers. And here we decide how we want our animation to kick in using the graph editor. I want it to kick in slowly and then just boom, kick out with like a speed. All right. So now that we have all these elements, once they're starting to get combined together, well, maybe we can change the particle color. I think the size also on the last one. Let's go to the aux system, live second. Oh, okay, let's go to 1. Once we start applying our motion blur to everything will look good. Well, should look good. Okay, so now that we have our particles done, let's go ahead and create a new layer again. Let's just name it F for gonna apply a flare. And we're gonna use Video Copilot's optical flares for this. Okay. I'm gonna compose on transparent. The position, I want it to be right here. Let's go to the lights. Let's see, which one are we going to add? Let's use this dirty glass one. Okay. It's fine. All right. So now the scale. Let's make the scale. All right. I change my blending mode to add. Okay. And also, let's see, how much bigger can I make this? Like that, that's fine. Okay. Now I do want to set a keyframe for my brightness. And it's at 50 right now. I'm gonna bring it down to 0. Press U on my keyboard. Get my keyframes, F9, graph editor, same thing. But this one I don't want to pull it all the way to the front, just a little bit, just like that. Let's bring our brightness to 25. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna press Alt and on the stopwatch for the scale. And let's see, scale, where is it? Here. I'm gonna add an expression, a wiggle expression. So we're gonna type in wiggle. What were the numbers on that? They were pretty high. Let's see, 100, 10. Same thing. Close it. Let's see how that goes. So the wiggle's pretty fast, but it's not enough. So I'm gonna change it to wiggle 100 times 100. Yeah, I like that one. Okay. All right, so now that I have that glow added, I'm gonna press Control Alt Y to create an adjustment layer. Press Enter on my press Enter on my keyboard to rename it, and I'm gonna call it Turbulent Displacement. Okay, and I'm gonna add another Turbulent Displacement. Here you go. All right. So I will make a mask like so. Feather it out. I want to feather this one 100 pixels. That's fine. The amount we're going to change it to 25 and the size to 50. I'm going to offset the turbulence. First frame, and then just put -2000. All right, so those two keyframes are just to offset the turbulence, but now I want it to kick in at some point, and I don't want it to see it all the time. So I'm gonna set a keyframe there. Change this to 100. Now let's go to 50, maybe. Yeah, it's not bad. 100. 0. F9 with those keyframes selected. Go to the graph editor. Okay, so once that's done, we're gonna go ahead and Control Alt Y to make another adjustment layer. Oops. To use to Photoshop. Oh God. Okay, press Enter on my keyboard, and I'm gonna call this one Bulge. And I'm gonna look for the Bulge Effect. We're gonna apply it. Okay. Now the sizes, let's go to 500 by 500. Wait, is it 500? I think it's a bit too much. You know what? No, I think 500 is about right. Let's go to 500 as well. Okay. 500 by 500. Okay. I'm gonna play with the keyframes here. Set a keyframe for the opacity. Bring it down to here. 100. No. 100. 25. 100. And 0. Ease in. Auto Bezier. Auto Bezier. And expand this one out. Okay, I'm just gonna bring these in as the bulge doesn't need a lot of time. It needs a little bit of time only. You know what? I'm also gonna keyframe these. And here, I'm gonna bring them down to 0. Okay, so that way it starts growing. Okay, so now that we're done with that bulge effect, I'm gonna duplicate my MIR comp just once, not twice, and I'm gonna put it above my subject. Now the mask, I could just play with this mask a bit and change it to make it different from the first one. just to give it like a different view, I guess. And we could also transform, flip horizontal, like that. That would just give us a completely different look. I'm gonna Control Shift H to hide those. I'm gonna press Control Alt Y one more time, and I'm gonna call this one Shine. And yes, I am gonna apply Trapcode Shine to this. First of all, I don't want to colorize it, so I'm gonna change the colorize to none. The ray length there, it's fine at 4. Okay. And I want to put it at 0. 0, I said. Okay. 0. You look for these. And we could probably bring this down to since 1's fine. Yeah, 1's fine. You see how this simple effect starts to change everything. I mean, now we have like this aura around this. I mean, I'm not liking this center flare. So go ahead and adjust that as you like. I don't remember doing this the first time, but for this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave it that way. You guys can work on it a little bit more. So again, sorry. Ease these keyframes. Go to the graph editor. Pull these out, and then I'm just gonna auto bezier that. There we go. Okay. So Control Shift Y one more time, and I'm gonna apply an exposure. Okay. And on this, also gonna make a quick mask, and I'm gonna put the exposure at 1, and that's fine. I'm gonna play with the opacity. The 50 perhaps. F 150 pixels. Let's go to 25. No, 25. And that's fine. Keyframe that. Let's bring that down to 0. 0 again. And wiggle. Let's go for 5, 10. No. 50. Close it. If you want, what you can do is you can simply copy this. The wiggle 7.5, 100. That way, since it will be here. Let's try really quick. Our electricity, and let's put our subject. Where are they? Because I don't have the background. Okay, we can see it slightly here. We could probably bump this up to like a 2, maybe then, in that case. I think that might be a bit too much. Let's put it at 1. That 1 was fine. All right. Again, these settings can be that it will depend on you. Okay, so now that we're done with these basic effects, I'm gonna bring these 3 elements. They're basically just rocks, and I won't be creating these because they do take a lot of power from the computer. So I'm just gonna show you exactly what they are. So basically, they're just compositions with rocks and with a little bit of movement going up and then going in and then basically exploding out. So there's 3 different ones. There's one called rocks at camera, or rocks at cam, which are the closest one to the camera. Then we have rocks back. These will be behind my subject. Where's this guy? Here it is. Okay, these will be behind my subject. And I have rocks front, and these will be in front of my subject. So why these? Or why two, one front, one back? Well, the reason why that is because the rocks spin, okay? They start spinning, and the ones in the back, they spin behind the subject. And so what I did was I basically created two different space elements, one in front of the subject and one behind the subject. So that's what those rocks are. So once they're all composed together, they all have the same movement. Once we have that, we could probably also add a hue and saturation to the rocks. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna copy the hue and saturation from my fractal, and I'm gonna apply it to the rocks. Okay, I'm gonna go to my first frame and then apply it to the first one. So now we see it that is it's blued out now. We're gonna leave it at the same hue and saturation, and we're just gonna apply it to all these elements, all three of them. So now that we have that done, I'm gonna create a new adjustment layer. Control Alt Y to create a new adjustment layer. I'm gonna name it CC, and to save time, since this effect already took a lot of time, or this composition, I'm just gonna add magic bullet looks to shorten out the time to make this process faster. So before any of that, I'm gonna apply curves. I'm also gonna apply a curves effect, and I'm just gonna darken these out. Just gonna darken out the whole comp a little bit, not that much. Okay, that looks starting to look a little bit better. So we can go to the front rocks, and we can add a fast blur. So I'm just gonna search for the fast blur and apply it to the top rocks. And I'm also gonna add, let's say, probably 10. Is that too much? Maybe 5. No, I think 10 was a bit. I think 10 was okay. So we're gonna leave it at 10. Right, so now that we've added a little bit of contrast with the curves, I'm gonna go ahead and search for a preset under the magic bullet looks effect, and I'm just gonna apply the classic tension. I really like this one a lot. So that's gonna give me a completely different look. I'm gonna press Control Y, and I'm just gonna apply a vignette here. I'm gonna grab my ellipse tool, and then just draw something like that. Feather it out, 150 pixels. Could probably do 250 just to get a little bit better. And then set it to subtract. We've done this a few times. Opacity, let's bring the opacity down to 50. That looks a bit better. So that lets us focus just on our subject. I think I want to bring the opacity to like 25. Yeah, a little bit more concentration. All right, so once we apply all those effects, okay, so once that's done, I'm just gonna enable my motion blur and apply motion blur to the layers that I wanted to, like the rocks, Trapcode MIR, Fractal Noise, particles, all the moving elements. And once that's done, we're gonna get something like this.